What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the fourth episode of the Statement series. We're currently sitting at 6.5 weeks out from the first show of the year, and in today's video we're going to go through some questions you sent me over on Instagram, give you a bit of an update of where I am at, and then also take you through the last week's pool session. So where am I at now? A lot of changes have been made by my coach since we last checked in the last video. So cardio has gone up to every single day, 30 minutes a time, keeping my heart rate at 130 beats per minute. Calories have been dropped both on a training day and a rest day. So my training day, I'm at 2,930 calories, 400 carbs, 220 protein and 50 fat, which still is in a really nice spot. The fact that I've still got 400 carbs in at 6.5 weeks out is really good to help maintain my performance in those sessions. And then we're digging quite hard on a rest day, so we're down to 2,210 calories, 175 grams of carbs, 220 grams of protein and 70 grams of fat. So food has been dropped quite a significant amount since we last checked in, just to keep the ball rolling, keep the momentum up. Steps are still where they are at 11,000. I'm now weighing lower than where I started my last prep at, so it's been a really interesting comparison, and I'll put that up on the screen now, where I started last prep at 90.5 kilos and where I'm at now at 90.5 kilos. Obviously it's 6.5 weeks out, which is such a crazy transformation, which I'm really pleased with. So we're sitting around about 90 kilos just below at the minute, so I still feel like I've got another 5 or 6 kilos to come off to get in true stage condition. So it's going to be a really hard push for these last 6.5 weeks up until the first show, which I'm so excited for. So now we're going to go through some questions you guys sent over to me on Instagram, and then after that we'll run through a bit of a pool session. So the first question is, how does this prep mentally compare to the last one? Now, my last prep was my first ever prep, so the whole experience was new to me. It was quite a lot of mental struggles in regards to not knowing what to expect, how it was going to feel to get in that stage condition, whether I was going to be ready, whether I was going to hold up against the other people in my class. So that was quite mentally difficult as a first prep, and I feel like this time round I'm a lot more mentally prepared. I know to a degree exactly what's to come, what it takes to get in stage condition. I'm very confident in the progress that I have made in my 2-year off season, so I've got a lot more confidence going into this show, which definitely helps. It is still just as hard regardless whether you know what's coming up or not, but mentally I'd say I'm a lot more confident, I'm a lot more comfortable with the work it takes to get into stage condition, and I feel like I'm a little bit mature as well in regards to how I feel and how that shouldn't affect other people around me. Prep is a choice, and I feel like last time I struggled quite a lot mentally with low energy levels, etc. So I feel like I'm a lot more mature to deal with that now, a lot more mentally confident, and know a lot more compared to last time round. So I'm in a much better position mentally this time round, despite it being just as hard as last time. So the next question is, what is the hardest part of prep so far? And I had quite a lot of people ask me this, and honestly the first 11 weeks of this prep have gone very smoothly, and I honestly haven't found anything too hard. I never like to say training's hard because I absolutely love it. Food, I haven't had many cravings so far. Cardio, you just get it done. And normally in a prep I always say it's missing out on social events and not being able to do things like that. But this year with COVID, haven't missed out on too much, so it's been fairly easy on that front. If I was to say anything, it'd be more going straight into self-employed this year. Has been a new experience for me, and trying to balance that with prep, running your own business and the stresses that come along with that has probably been the hardest part, just juggling my own business. Being my first ever year being self-employed, it's been quite tough, but I know the next 6.5 weeks is where it gets really difficult, and things like hunger, so my answer might change at that point. But so far, the first 11 weeks have been very smooth, so other than juggling it with a business, not too much really. What is your favourite exercise to do in the gym? Now, I've really struggled to whittle that down to one exercise, but any variation of a hip hinge would have to be up there, whether that's an RDL or a stiff leg deadlift. It's such a high skilled movement, so when you can execute it properly, like the mental battle before the sets, how difficult it is. I absolutely love the hip hinge, and I've had one in my plan throughout the whole of the off season. So up next, we're going to go through my pull session. I hit a brand new RDL PB at 7.5 weeks out. So this session was from a week ago. So we'll run through that now, and then we'll get into some more questions. So the next question is how to keep muscle on a prep. Now mentally you should enter a prep not expecting to lose any muscle at all. However, it is inevitable right at the depths of prep in the last week or two, especially as a natural, but there is lots of things you can do and put in place to help mitigate that. So first off is taking a slow approach. The more aggressive you've got to be with your diet, the less time you give yourself, and the more weight you've got to lose week on week, the higher risk you are at losing muscle. So take your time. I've done an 18-week prep to my first show, so we can take it nice and slow, ensure my rate of loss is in a really nice spot, and we can control that throughout the whole of prep to help minimize the chances of losing muscle. The more aggressive you've got to be in slashing calories, performance then drops, and then you're at a high risk of losing muscle. The next thing would be recovery. Make sure your recovery is on point. You need to be sleeping well, you need to be in a good routine, and that will help minimize any muscle loss, especially towards the end of prep. If you're not sleeping well, you're not going to be recovering well enough, you won't perform very well, and then you're at a chance of losing muscle. So also you want to be making sure you're eating enough protein. This will be individual to the person. I'm now eating more protein this prep than I am last prep, simply because I'm holding more muscle. So as long as you're eating enough protein, that will also help and mitigate any muscle loss. And the last thing is progressive overload. A lot of people, when going into a dieting phase, accept losing strength. You should be progressively overloading for as long as possible and getting stronger as you go through into prep. Yes, some movements may take a slight hit towards the end, but getting stronger for that majority of the prep is going to massively help in your chances of retaining all of your muscle. So the next question is something I get asked a lot, and that is, do you see yourself going down the assisted path when you reach your natural limit? Now, I think if I was to get to my natural limit, I'd need another 10 plus years of training, nailing all of the variables to reach your true natural limit. Obviously, the progress is going to massively slow down, but to really get to your natural potential, I don't think many people ever truly get to that. And deep down, I'd love to step on that Olympia stage one day. It's a huge goal of mine, but at the same time, I know exactly what it takes to get there, and that is to go down the assisted route, and I don't want to take those risks unless I feel I have the potential to get there. So it's a big decision to make. The main goal with this year is competing in a tested federation as a natural, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but it's definitely not something that I'm completely ruling out. So the next question is, what supplements do you take? So I'm going to run you through my full supplement stack and the subs that I do take. First being a stim pre-workout. I use Innova Farms NV Pre 2.0. Now, I've never come across a pre-workout as good as this. All the flavors absolutely bang. The panel on it is stacked. From nootropics through to stimulants, it is such a consistent pre. I don't crash from it, and I've never found anything as good. So this absolutely carries me through some of the big sessions on prep. And I also really like their pump product as well, the Nova Neuro. Absolutely solid pre-workout. So if you haven't tried it, absolutely get on that. From protein, I kind of switch and change through proteins. I get all of my proteins from Southwest Supplements, my sponsor. So make sure if you get anything from there, use the code Aaron10. But I'm currently using this Dymatized cookies and cream, which is absolutely phenomenal. This is a whey isolate. I tend to put that in my post-workout meal. So I kind of float between a few different ways, but this has definitely been one of my favorites and staples throughout prep. Next is obviously highly branched cyclic dextrin, which is a carb powder. It's got a really high molecular weight, so it causes no digestive stress. I sip on this as I go throughout my workout, but this is slowly getting tapered down and will be tapered out as I'd rather eat my carbs rather than drink them. But it just helps maintain my energy throughout the workout and have those carbs there ready to utilize to start that recovery process nice and quick. So also a creatine, Creapure monohydrate, absolute standard, 5 grams a day. That'll never come out. Take that year round, no specific time, just as long as you remember. A vitamin D complex has got a few other things in there like turmeric, but as we're obviously entering the summer, I have a slightly lower dose of this. I also take a highly dosed Solgar multivit. A lot of the multivitamins you get in the supermarket are a load of shit. They're massively underdosed. They only put enough of each ingredient in there to be able to make those claims and those benefits. So they're almost no good. And there's a reason why they're so cheap. So a slightly higher potent multivitamin, just to cover all bases there. So lastly, I take ashwagandha. And this is simply for cortisol and stress management. I take this after my last meal in the evenings, and also helps with sleep as well. So that's pretty much my supplement stack. It's not very big. If I was to add anything to this, it would probably be a krill oil. That's probably the only thing I am missing. But your supplement stack doesn't need to be huge. It's called supplements for a reason. They should be supplementing your diet and your training, but they're all small percentages, and the small percentages do add up. So there's some really, really important things in here. So that is it for today's video, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it and taken something away from it. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button below and the notification bell so you can keep up to date with any future videos on this prep series. Like the video if you haven't already, and I'll see you for next time.